The role of transportation has not diminished in the contemporary economy. It's changed, and it's as important as ever. The story of highways is pretty well known, the importance to communities. The story about buses and passenger rail is pretty well known. There isn't an understood story about freight rail in common conversation. And common conversation is important. It's about how the public understands. It's about how policymakers understand. So we undertook this study to help explain the kind of economic impact that freight rail has within communities, within the state of Minnesota, and by inference within the Midwest. The key to unlocking that understanding was maps and being able to see around different communities which industries were using freight rail a lot, and the economic impact of that, and where their products and goods went. So that's really what motivated us to do the study and compelled us to use GIS and maps. When we used GIS to analyze industry clusters, we're able to see several of these clusters which were growing at a very fast rate throughout the state, many of which are in rural environments, mining in the Northeast, certainly farming throughout the rural parts of Minnesota, iron ore, turkey, soybeans, heavy machinery, and I think that's what GIS can do. It can take a complicated story about how turkeys that are raised in southern Minnesota get processed and moved and transported and shipped, and can tell it in maps so that anybody can see the importance of those economic clusters and the importance of freight rail to the communities and the jobs they have.
People who see our trains are sometimes unaware of the countless goods and commodities that we're moving from their communities to cities such as Chicago and Kansas City, or to intermodal ports like Los Angeles and Houston. BNSF Railway is the engine that connects local economies to urban and foreign markets. The university's report, and especially their interactive maps, provide vivid examples of the synergy between local economies and the freight infrastructure that connects these economies to national and increasingly international markets. Just in the last year, exports from Minnesota to China have grown by about 35%, and our rail and intermodal systems have helped enable Minnesota businesses to move their goods and products to these growing markets. You will see the clustering of the key industries that have driven the state's economies to grow at a rate above the national average. The maps illustrate the export of commodities such as soybeans through expanded port facilities that BNSF serves in the Pacific Northwest. The study may focus on Minnesota, but the lessons apply across the United States.
The basic findings of the study are that freight rail is a key part of the economy and should be addressed in both the public and private sector as an economic development kind of component. And so that's just a new framing for freight rail. Another finding pertains to the intermodalism and the importance of the public-private sector to cooperate to develop an intermodal capacity. Finally, an area of the study that we spent a lot of time on was the importance of public outreach and creating a dialogue with the public sector in order to allow for win-win solutions. Our goal is not to produce GIS maps for maps' sake, but to produce visual analysis and spatial analysis that can make a difference. We think that it can be used in crafting a new understanding and a new set of policies.
The University of Minnesota Freight Rail Study underscores the importance of the region's transportation economy, and it tells a story that we see play out every day as we move freight from local communities to the marketplace.